This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina and Royden Ogletree, who you haven't seen in weeks.
Look at that. I'm back like I never left.
Yeah. Have not seen in weeks. And Royden, I'm so happy to have you back.
Oh, good.
Here's the thing. If you had canceled this week, I had a plan because I would have been screwed. I mean, like, it would have screwed up because I know that none of the other co-hosts have seen any of the Oscar movies.
Oh, none?
Because I have a contention now that has, the last, I'm going to say decade.
Okay.
Most of the Oscar movies have to be boring.
Boring.
Most of the movies. Now,
Okay.
the Best Picture ones that, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was really good. The ones
Far from boring, actually.
Yeah, far from boring. But,
Nomadland is a snooze fest.
yeah, so, they have all these ones that they're either really amazingly good, but they're boring and they're preachy.
Right.
That's how you get it in. And then you get excited, oh, hey, Dune Part 2 is in there, Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then they're yeah, but we're not going to, give Best Picture to a movie with a sandworm in it. That's not going to happen.
There's multiple reasons why they didn't, and we could probably talk about that, but yeah.
But so you're the movie guy.
Yeah.
And I also think for some reason they don't like Denis Villeneuve. So
they didn't even nominate him for Best Director either, which is, if you watch that movie.
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
So.
Denis.
Yeah.
If you watch that movie, you find it impossible to believe that they wouldn't nominate him. They didn't nominate him for the first one either.
Yeah.
And it won 6 Academy Awards, all below the line.
Yeah.
And this one won 2 below the line Oscars. Actually, won less Oscars than the first movie, which I contend is way far. The Dune Part 2 is much more superior than Dune 1.
See?
And anyway, they had sort of a Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers thing going on with that. Meanwhile, the third movie is supposed to be completely weird and wild, and I don't think they know what they were getting into with that.
Yeah.
Regardless, So
anyway,
they kind of flubbed that.
Yeah. I'm very excited for certain people who won, like Kieran Culkin. I'm a huge fan of his.
Since he was the bedwetter in Home Alone,
Fuller.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not only look, he was Maddie in Father of the Bride. He's the younger brother. Everything he's been in, he's been good in. Really.
Did you watch A Real Pain? It's on Hulu.
I've not watched it yet, but I'm really those but those are my kind of movies, small independent movies that are.
It's quintessentially Kieran Culkin. He doesn't really what he is outside and what he was in
Succession.
Succession. I was going to say Severance, but Succession he's kind of doing the same. Kieran
he
Culkin.
Is who he is.
Yeah. It's not a bit. It just is who he is, and it comes off.
What's the line from Get Shorty is John Wayne played the same part in both movies. He played John Wayne.
Yeah.
I think that's actually credit to a good actor most of the time.
You can just be yourself.
You can just be yourself, and that okay, here it is. Now, not everybody's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hanks plays characters, but at a certain point, you're
he's playing Tom Hanks.
It's Tom Hanks.
He's Tom Hanks.
And you're going to give him an Academy Award or you're not.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. He's playing Tom Hanks. He's Tom Hanks. There's nobody who could have played Sully.
Right.
Other than Tom Hanks.
Right.
Those kind of things. So.
Loved his speech, by the way. He was just telling his wife, I'm going to get you pregnant later.
That. Yeah.
Crazy call by that guy. But anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm happy about that. I don't understand the career of Adrian Brody at all.
Somebody compared him to, and I thought this
Eli
was
Manning,
bad.
right?
Yeah, yes, you saw
Eli
it.
Manning.
I think I retweeted it. He's Eli Manning has these two, Adrian Brody as Eli Manning has these two singular high moments in a career full of mostly interceptions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's really
he's
true.
Good, he's good in Wes Anderson movies.
Right.
And apparently The Brutalist, which is too long for me to watch at this point in my life.
It was good.
It's good?
Yeah, it was good.
It's
AI
good.
stuff aside, but yeah, it was
okay.
good.
The Brutalist and what was the other movie he was in?
King Kong?
No, the other one he won Best Actor for was
The Pianist.
Okay, that movie, way too long, super boring, awful. It's an absolutely boring, just ridiculous film.
Also,
that is like that maybe kicked off this like, oh. Like that's what I think of the Academy. Like it's not even about the political stuff, which I'm sure there's some people in the chat will be like, "That's why I don't watch it." But
it's
no,
too woke or whatever.
It's no, it's none of that.
No,
it's like okay, just pick a good movie. And also, as a comedian, the affront against comedy started at the Academy.
Yeah,
it started at the Academy because they will not recognize good comedy movies.
Yeah, well, if you count Honora, for those of you who have seen Honora, now it's like one of the lowest grossing Best Picture winners of all time now. But it is at points a raucous comedy, which somebody compared it to. It'd probably be, it gets dark really towards the end and like has dramatic moments. But the thing about Honora ended up being, it was sort of almost this sort of era's version of a romantic comedy, and somebody compared it to, it'd be like the first time that a romantic comedy has won Best Picture since Annie Hall. And but that what was that, 50 years ago that Annie Hall came out?
Yeah.
Nearly?
Longer maybe.
So I would argue go watch Honora. Don't watch it with your kids in the room. But like I would argue go watch Honora for that reason. But straight line comedies or even sort of dark like when they
as good as it gets, won acting awards, but not Best Picture.
When they didn't award Jim Carrey for roles in Truman Show and what's the one with Man on the Moon, the one with Kate Winslet.
Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine, which is more of a dark drama comedy, but like those sort of things, and he kind of went off the rails because of it.
Yeah.
They gave him the Golden Globes, but they refused to recognize him at the Oscars and stuff like that. That's when it sort of went off the rails. They didn't recognize Adam Sandler for Uncut Gems because he had been a comedian for so long, and they just didn't find it serious enough.
Here's the thing. They need comedians to come and host their stupid show because it's so long and boring. So they need Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Kimmel and all these people to go up there and be funny because most of the movies are not funny and they're overwrought and serious. And look, Oppenheimer, I love Oppenheimer. I love every second of Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of movie that should win if it's not. But I think, and I'll tell you, and I will die on this hill, and this may be a little bit bro podcasty, but I will die on this hill. There is not a better acted scene in the history of all cinema than the dinner table scene in Wedding Crashers. It is. Look, I'm telling you, it's way harder to do that. Like Christopher Walken was in the goddamn Deer Hunter, okay? He was in the Deer Hunter, and that movie is intense, right? Okay, Christopher Walken was in that. That movie, way easier for him to do.
You think?
Way easier for him to do.
Him and De Niro nearly killed themselves on that movie, though.
I'm telling you, but that movie, like that kind of acting, that intense drama, Dustin Hoffman bull crap, like that kind of thing, those things, that's way easier to do. It's way easier to be a dramatic actor than to be a comedic actor.
I think.
Than to get laughs. And to do it, like I promise you, they had to do that scene 20 times because it's hard. And you've got like just titans at that, like Bradley Cooper and Vince Vaughn and Walken and character actors that have just been funny in everything they've ever done. Yeah, all these things, all these people, Rachel McAdams, like everybody has a joke to tell at the table, and it just goes around in a circle for not even 10 minutes, but like for the duration of that scene. And I'll tell you, here's what killed it, because Vince Vaughn got a tug job under the table. They're like, that's not. No, the scene is brilliant. It is absolutely well written and fast and brilliant, and everybody in it kills it. But no, because, you'd go and that movie, what was the movie? Moonlight. Mm-hmm. A guy gets a tug job in the ocean and it's art. Okay? I'm just telling you, like, this is what drives me nuts about, and I'm, like, as you know, I'm a huge movie buff, but the affront to comedy started at that Academy, which is why I don't watch 1 second of it. And I love Conan O'Brien more than probably anybody on earth, and I did not watch it because I cannot stand the Oscars.
Okay, did you have questions about it, or?
Oh no, I was
you just wanted to.
But no, I mean, like, what movies do you What movies do you think I would like? Anora, I think I would like.
I think you would. I think you get a kick out of Anora. There's a like, I mean, it goes on and on and on. It becomes like a slapstick thing, and it's really intense. But there's a 40-minute portion in the middle of that movie that I think was some of the funniest stuff that I've seen. And it also goes to your point, they just don't make studio comedies anymore, and they don't make comedies that they put in theaters anymore. I
do like Conclave.
I do like
Conclave. I haven't watched Wicked yet, but I will.
But the Wicked
and I will watch A Complete Unknown because
it's also on Hulu now, and that was the one that I really didn't get to besides the foreign film I'm Still Here that was nominated. Nickel Boys just came out as well too, but so the Wicked stands will get mad at me. Fine movie musical that made $1 billion or whatever it did. It also looks like crap. It looks horrendous when you watch it.
Okay.
It won set design for good reason if you and costume design, which makes a lot of sense, but it also like cinematography and stuff, it just is crazy looking. Anyway, Dune Part 2 you've probably already seen. Anora is good. Conclave, mixed messaging towards the end of the movie, but I really enjoyed it.
But it's a mystery. Like that's
it's
why
a mystery movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the intrigue of it. Let's see what else. Like The Brutalist, I think if you do have 3.5 hours to sit down and watch it.
3 hours and 40 minutes. Like, what kind of dick makes a movie that's 3 hours and 40 minutes long?
And the pretense, look, I enjoyed it. I just took a day where Caitlin was at work, and I was like, I gotta go tackle this thing. And by the way, bring intermissions back to movies. That's sick. Yeah. Even like a 2-hour movie, bring them in intermissions back.
Did it have an intermission?
Oh yeah. It just like with about at I think the 2-hour mark, it stops for 15 minutes. And I went and took a piss and got a Jack and Coke and came back to the theater. Had a good time. But
good deal.
The movie, The Brutalist, which I think got marred in all the AI controversy, and for good reason, and part of the reason why it didn't win Best Picture was, I think, because of that. But also, the pretense of it is built into the movie. One, because it's 3.5 hours long. Two, because it's about artists and their art and what patrons take away from artists and their art, and so on and so forth. It's also an immigrant story, a pretty well-done immigrant story, and has some things to say about that, which I think is better than the message that it has about art. The problem with the whole movie is that at the end of the movie, to me, it just goes, well, you figure it out. And you're just like, okay, thanks, appreciate that. But I'm trying to think of other ones that were nominated that like people liked I'm Still Here. Again, I hadn't seen it because it wasn't really in theaters. Nickel Boys was an interesting thought because the movie is shot all in first-person perspective. So I think the execution of it is what got it up. Yeah, it elevated it above some other movies. What else am I missing that?
No, that's fine. We've been through it. I had to get my rant out.
Okay.
I had to get my rant out. And there are two movie hills that I will die on. One is that the Wedding Crashers scene is the best acted scene in the history of cinema. And two, that Beyonce sucks at acting.
Okay. So, you said that on our podcast.
Yeah, I said it on your. And the next time I'm on, I'll say it again because I know that Dex in particular thinks that because he lives in Houston, one day, when Jay-Z and Beyonce finally get divorced, they'll meet, and then she's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, Dex, listen, I really like your stuff, but because you had that guy on your podcast that says I can't act, we can never be together."
I think the big one that and it's surprisingly the most accessible one because it was just on the front screen of Netflix, was Amelia Perez. And I got to tell you, one of the worst, it's like Crash level bad for, the fact that it was a front runner for a very long time. Yeah. And it is horrendous movie. Not because of the messaging in the movie, yada, yada. It is just a bad movie. Yeah. And it won Best Original Song. Couldn't tell you a song from that movie. Anyway, so that was kind of the big one that everybody was talking about. And I actually think if you are fine with body horror, and it's actually kind of a comedy too, the substance is wild. And I think
I'm eventually going to watch
I think you should like
out of curiosity. Yeah,
it is out of curiosity nonetheless. It is so gross. Yeah. And but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm glad I watched that because I would have never experienced anything like that until I watched it. So there's some other stuff. I think my favorite film of the year was Dune. And speaking of pretense and stuff, why some things weren't nominated, like the one that we go on and on about in the podcast was Challengers, which, people have their faults with that movie, but it was like the most fun movie of the year besides Dune, I think. And it didn't get diddly squat. Like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross weren't even nominated for best original score. And I think it's like one of the most streamed scores ever on Spotify. They didn't even get nominated. So that was a whole other thing. But comedies, like if you want to look at Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it has some, in the back end, it has some really intense dramatic moments and mother-daughter storytelling and stuff. But that is like a broad genre comedy, but they're not going to award the Judd Apatow or if you want to like The Hangover or anything like that. They're just not going to do it. The raunchy sort of sex comedy thing. They're just not going to do it. I don't know why, but I digress. The funniest thing that I did see mentioning The Wedding Crashers is after the Super Bowl, I meant to send it to you, was when Vince Vaughn is like, he gets his clock cleaned by Bradley Cooper when they're playing football. And basically somebody said, this was Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl. And it was Travis Kelce walking up to him and was like, what are you doing? Every time I come over here, you're on your ass. And he said, if I had air in my lungs, I would scream at you right now.
Yeah. Yes. Again. Just, I don't know. I will not stand anymore for this. Like I just.
Well, they have to start making them again.
They do. Well, the reason they don't make them is just the studios don't pay for them.
Yeah, they don't think that they'll make money, which I don't think is absolutely true, because you saw like one romantic comedy come out 2 years ago with two hot people, Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney, and it made $100 million at the box office and was the most streamed movie on Netflix. So I don't know it's not a hard formula, honestly. Put funny hot people in your movie, man. People will go see it. I promise. The teens will go see those movies.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about the ACC peace treaty that has happened now. Let's get into that part of it before we just go full movie podcast. But the ACC peace treaty, the boards will approve it. I'm not sure. Like, I think FSU and Clemson are meeting now, or have, like, everybody's going to approve it. The deal is fantastic for actually any team that's ever wanted to be out of the ACC. Like, they can send FSU and Clemson's lawyers a thank you card because this is a temporary fix for the ACC, which is what they needed. They knew it wasn't going to be permanent, but every year the exit fee drops by $18 million until 2030, when I think it plateaus at like $75 million as the exit there. Or if they waited another year after that, maybe it would be $18 million less. I didn't dive that deep into it. But basically in 2030, the exit fee is $75 million, which is pretty much on par with what everybody's kind of had to pay over the years that's done this. And then those things even get negotiated down in court because you can be like, you can have $75 million over 10 years, or you can have $48 million now. And they're like, well, we'll just take that money now. Like if you won the lottery. Like, the annuity is probably the better plan, but, I don't know if the government's going to be here in 40 years. So I'd just give me my money.
Just in general.
Just give me my money now. Like, I've thought that, like, anytime, no matter who's in power, like, if I won the lottery, if I won the lottery, I know the annuity is the better thing. Like, that's the smarter thing to do. But also, because I have such distrust of Congress to make sure that I get my full $500 million.
Give me the lump sum, baby.
Just
I'm
give me
getting
the
out
lump
of here.
sum right now.
Going to Mallorca.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm moving to Italy.
Yeah.
Getting a house in Italy, and that's going to be that. So,
What's the thing? If you won the lottery, you I may not tell anybody, but there will be signs.
Yeah. I'm not going to I'm not going to broadcast it to the world.
Right.
Because then you get then all of a sudden, fourth cousins come out of the woodwork and be like, you remember that time we played video games when we were 9 at that family reunion because I had a Nintendo? Yeah. Well, you're welcome. You're like,
I think don't in Texas you have to identify yourself, or do you not?
I don't think you do.
Yeah, or you just show up in a ski mask.
I mean, you have to go and get it. You don't have to you don't have
Seems dangerous.
But you don't have to sit there with a big check.
Right.
And take a picture of the, of the thing.
Hey, all of you who know where I live.
Yeah. So, but hey, where are you going on vacation this year? The moon.
Yeah.
No. But
sorry, I was just sending out some. I've been on my phone, just sending Mac Roach his named CFP chair. So
yeah. So we'll talk about that. So we got Mac Rhodes on about a month ago. Garrett, was that a month ago? About a month ago. And he actually answered asked us questions when we asked him some about what do you think? And now it's making sense to me why in particular he was interested in those questions we were asking him about mostly about transparency. We said we'd like to see more transparency, right. But let's finish talking about the ACC first, and then we'll talk about Mac. But I don't know if this means that ultimately Clemson and Florida State and Miami and North Carolina or the ACC blows up in 6 years. But it will now
doesn't it feel like a 6-year from now problem?
But
I'll push that
2030, 5 years from now, in 2030, the Big 12, Big 10, and now the ACC, these teams in the ACC can all get out. And it will be interesting to see the SEC is 2034 with their deal. But it'll be interesting to see the pieces start to move on the board again then.
Yeah.
Does that become Super League time? Or I really don't think that there's an appetite for the Super League from the fans. The appetite
from the fans, no, but that doesn't. Since when is the fan input meant
But
anything?
I do think that if they and that I think part of the thing that you see with some of these kind of automatic qualifier proposals they're throwing out there is that's the little test they throw out there and see how people react to it of, could we get away with this if we were a Super League? And
yeah, I remember I saw a few weeks ago Josh Pate had a big old rant about how it was basically the Big Ten and SEC were
and it's actually more the Big Ten than the SEC. Yeah. The Big Ten is the one who wants the 4 because the SEC they complained and bitched all about this year not having 4, but ultimately they know that they're going to get theirs.
Yeah.
They're going to get theirs.
Laying the groundwork now.
Yeah. Look, if Clemson doesn't kick a last-second field goal, Alabama's in the playoff. So, right. What are we whining about? We're whining the fact that Clemson won the ACC in the system that you set up. All right, boo-hoo. Yep. That's the thing about.
Cry me a river.
What was there was the South Park that they did about Prince Harry, and it's you can read all about it in my new book. Wah! So, that's just it. Now, the Big Ten knows that, they knew they were going to get 3. I think they, walked into the year thinking, we got 3 easy. No matter what, we're going to have 3 because Oregon exists, Penn State exists, and Ohio State exists. And then out of nowhere, Kurt Cignetti, pulls off this thing, and they get 4. And so then they're thinking, well, we really like that. How do we make sure that happens again forever? As opposed to, just let it happen, man. Don't force it. Let all these things come together naturally. Almost every year, every year, I have no problem saying this, every single year, the SEC and Big Ten, just by the sheer size of the leagues, will get 3 teams in.
Yeah.
In a lot of years, they'll both get 4. Why mess with that?
To have it in a bylaw?
Yeah, to have it why most years you're doing it, you're just riding this away. So that's what I think in 2030 we're going to see is more teams okay, well, how do we reposition? Is there this? And what I would worry about in 2030 is if I am Wake Forest, Boston College, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Rutgers, any school, that has not gotten good ratings, that hasn't really
Sniffed
done
the
anything,
playoff, yeah.
that like you'll still be in the power conferences. They just may roll you into one together. Like where the Big Ten and the ACC and some of these like
bring back a fifth, like the Pac-12.
They kind of come together and they're like, all right, well, why don't we take these two right here, and we'll take the best parts of these and put them together. And then the rest of you guys, you're fine. You can all be in the you guys can all be in the ACC. It's fine. It's a good league. It's more even. It'll be more like it'll be kind of like the Big 12.
Yeah.
It'll be like the Big 12 where like, hey, the best of the rest can be here. And then the Big 10 and the SEC will still they'll have all the brand names. Like that'll be
They'll drop down to like a 10-team league or
the
something.
Galleria Mall will be the Big 10 and the SEC with all the cool stores.
Right.
And then the boutique shops will be the ACC and the Big 12. If in the next 5 years they don't, exponentially grow. I think the Big 12 actually has a good shot to do that and be a fun league. The ACC I worry about because historically they're a 2-team league.
Yeah. Are you more worried about the dissolution of the ACC or just straight up the dissolution of the NCAA?
Well, the NCAA is going to probably go away anyway.
Yeah.
So, and a new body will run it. That's coming. So, I don't know. But this is all indications of here's the thing. For realignment thing for good, it's over for 5. We don't have anything to talk about for 5 years. There's nothing to talk about for 5 years. Nothing. Everything's going to roll on, and we'll see what happens in 5 years. So we can actually talk about other things. So
it's not going to stop the think pieces, dude.
No. Well, it's also not going to there are several people whose whole
bit is
whole thing is realignment that are now going to be all right, they're going to be Project 2030. Let's go through it and find out what we're going to do. All right, well, here's the deal. Washington State's going to use all this time.
Yeah.
And they're going to make a rare earth minerals deal. And then they'll have money. You don't know this, but most of the people who go to Washington State are from Ukraine. Yeah. So that's what'll happen. It'll all do this. Here's the thing. Bill Gates will get involved in this because he knows things. He knows things, and he's more interested in he's going to make sure that Stanford, all those things are going to happen. That's what the new wave of it's going to be. And I'll just tell you, we have nothing to say for 5 years. Everybody's locked in for 5 years now. The fee is not palatable right now for Florida State and Clemson to leave, although they know how much it'll cost the longer they wait. They know that it's going to drop down. Plus, there was nowhere for them to go right now. It's the best deal that Florida State and Clemson could have possibly hoped for at all. It is because they had nowhere to go, but then they seemingly get everything they want anyway. And when it comes to the grant of rights and all these things, when they leave with their media rights. So it's not we leave early. No, they leave with their media rights. That's negotiated all out.
Why did the ACC want to make this deal?
Because
they don't have any other choice, or would they not have a barrel?
Well, here's the thing. It's either this or just be in court for the next decade.
Yeah.
That's what it's just make the deal.
Settle,
make the deal. And the thing is, it's not economically viable for all three parties to just keep doing this over and over and over again. Billable hours wins, but ultimately you've got to turn, because this has now been a year-long process for both Clemson and FSU, and especially if you're the FSU board who's been out there going,
these lawyer fees are expensive.
Well, eventually the board's going to be like, hey, how's this going? How is this going? What answers do we have? Now, they squawked enough and they got time to plan. So if they're not smart enough to have we remake the ACC in a better image plan, we do this, we do this, And if the other schools in the ACC want to make this work, just like the Big 12 needs to make this work, you guys got to start winning games, and it's got to be more than just Florida State and Clemson. Miami, you have to come back and be Miami again. North Carolina, you have to be something. You have to be something. The fact that you can even say that people watch your football games is ridiculous.
Hey, they got Hard Knocks though.
Yeah, but I mean, you like that. But that's why.
They what? Oh, it got canceled. The NFL threw their weight around a little bit on that?
Oh. So, yeah, but I mean, they go, they go get Belichick. But again, in 2030, if Bill Belichick is still coaching there, please. I mean,
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Look, here's the thing. He had to take a job so he could, tell his 28-year-old girlfriend, like, hey, listen, I'm busy.
I can't do another Instagram post.
I cannot. I cannot. Like,
what is a reel? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he's only got a couple years before he dies from that. Or, he decides, well, this is really hard coaching college football. It's, I
got to go in recruiting. Ugh.
Well, I don't think he goes on many. But, of course, he doesn't kick up a fuss like Dion would if he showed up in your hometown. But,
right.
But yeah, I think people would be like, oh, hey, Bill Belichick's at my house. Like, yeah.
You want to come play for North Carolina?
I'll have an unsweetened iced tea with no lemon, please. Nothing fancy. Let's not go
crazy here.
This isn't a drag show. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
So
I just do find you want to come play or not.
I mean, like, look, I've won like 1 million Super Bowls. I can call Tom Brady on the phone right now. Gronk likes me. I mean, you guys like Gronk, right? You're on the Twitters and stuff.
Yeah.
I know him. I made him. So
I do want to know how kids are gonna react the first time he calls them like an idiot in a film session.
Yeah. 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 That wasn't good. But I just, they have to do something. And the Big 12, I actually think is set up well because every year we're going to get a new story in the Big 12, which I know doesn't do well for dynasties, but I think building the whole brand out of if you make the thing, hey, we don't know who's coming out here. We don't know. It could be Kansas State. It could be Utah. Could be Arizona State. Could be Texas Tech.
Yeah.
It could be anybody, any year. Could be Colorado, could be Baylor this year, could be TCU. We have no idea who's coming out of this thing. So our games are appointment television all year long. That's what they need to sell. Don't
lean into the parody, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, this league is crazy. The best games you're going to see week to week are our games because top to bottom, we're good. Most of the teams are good. And then, all the games are going to be close. You're going to have close games all the time. And it's going to come down to the last week. And it's not going to be like, well, Georgia and who else? Although the SEC was a tightrope walk last year, So the Big Ten really wasn't. It was the 4 teams and no one.
I hate that gambling is now kind of become incessant in all things sports. But just spitballing, do you think the Big 12 leans into that nature? Hey, you could throw some money on any underdog and they can win, sort of thing. Partnering with whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got their claws in Vegas and stuff recently, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You think they brand that way?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe they do, but that's what they have to do. But that's what they have to do. They have to just lean into the fact that it's good. And the ACC. They really do. Somebody has to. NC State's got to get better.
Yeah.
Syracuse has to stay getting better. Pittsburgh's got to stay good. They have to. You guys have to start winning stuff. This can't just be a 2-team league. It can't be Clemson and Florida State, which for the last 40 years, that's what it's been. That occasionally there's a Virginia Tech that pops up out of the ground. Wake Forest won once with Jim Grobe. They'll pop up.
Jim.
But it's just one moment. Pittsburgh had a good year, but it's just one moment in the sun. You need a lot of moments in the sun. You need multiple teams in the playoffs. You need SMU I think is a great hope for the ACC. I really do because they have the financial backing to money whip anything. So here's the thing, Rhett Lashley could, as long as he wins, he can stay there as long as he wants and get raises. And some big job may come for him. There's no doubt in my mind if Arkansas moves on after this year, he's one of the first guys they're calling. absolutely they're going to call Rhett Lashley. And one of the few places on earth that can stare down an SEC school with money is going to be SMU because, like, no, we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
Rhett, what'd they offer you? Okay, fine. We'll give you more. Don't leave.
Call one donor, make it shake.
Yeah. You know all this, all the oil.
Yeah,
that's like all ours.
It's between us and Texas A&M. We have
and Tech, SMU, A&M, Tech. Like, the Texas, like these schools in Texas have the oil. SMU, Tech, A&M, and Texas have oil.
Just full of Daniel Plainviews out here. Just like,
yeah.
I want your coach.
Yeah. I drink your milkshake. Speaking of Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah. Coming out of retirement, by the way.
He is.
Yeah.
Really? To play Spider-Man, I hope.
Yeah, no, it was Batman.
Yeah.
Actually. 6-year-old Batman. They offered him a lot of money.
It's for the Fast and the Furious, isn't it?
It's all about family, man. He felt the need.
This it. You learn your lessons one heartbeat at a time.
I don't even know, like, Daniel Plainview.
How he would respond to that.
Dom Toretto.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, let's talk about Mac. Baylor athletic director, now the head of the committee. Why in the world would you want that job?
Seems, brother.
I mean, it's like
more power to you, dude.
Well, like, to me, I'll tell you this. Think about this. This is like the president calling you up and be like, "Would you like to be the secretary of the treasury?" I'd be like, "The hell I would! No."
Seems awful. Actually,
that's a lot of math. And every time the economy's bad, they're going to ask me really hard questions.
Yeah, that may or may not have the answers.
Like, where's the money going? I don't. Can't tell you.
Don't really make the policy.
So, anyway, when we come back, Mac Rhodes, the new head of the CFP committee, or the chair, the guy who's the voice. Ward Manuel doesn't have to sit and do that interview every week, and I don't know why Mac wants to do it. This is the Triple Option.
Of sending someone a boring gift basket. Don't. I know, gifting is hard, but don't give basic. Gift Boardery. Fully arranged gourmet charcuterie boards. Perfect for any occasion. Birthdays, engagements, thank you gifts. Boardery has you covered. Plus, if you forget to get a gift, Boardery ships overnight nationwide. So no more excuses, Cheryl. Don't gift basic. Gift Boardery.
Escape into fitness with the Schwinn IC4 bike, providing a premium, heart-pumping indoor cycling experience that combines digital connectivity with superior Schwinn quality. The IC4's smooth, quiet ride features magnetic resistance with 100 micro-adjustable resistance levels, an intuitive resistance knob, a beautiful backlit LCD display, adjustable race-style seat, dual-link pedals with toe cages, and a pair of 3-pound dumbbells with easy-reach cradles. Place your phone or tablet on the media rack and keep them charged with the IC4's convenient USB charging station, extra-large dipped handlebars for premium grip, and dual water bottle holders for staying hydrated. The Schwinn IC4 comes with a slim, comfortable, Bluetooth-enabled heart rate armband that continuously monitors heart rate to help you stay within your target zone. But the best part about the IC4 is premium digital connectivity. Digitally immerse yourself in a world of virtual races, exotic locales, and stunning trails from around the globe. With connectivity to cycling and coaching apps like Peloton, Explore the World, and Zwift, with the Schwinn IC4 bike, you can ride with Peloton at a fraction of the price. Don't limit yourself to one digital experience. Pedal through dozens of scenic destinations, controlling your pace by speeding up or slowing down. Fitness was never meant to be put in a box, and neither were you. Escape the everyday with the Schwinn IC4 bike, your ticket to a life well lived.
There are hundreds of things that can affect our sleep, but what's affecting yours? Sleep Doctor's Home Sleep Test brings the precision of a sleep lab into the comfort of home to help you get answers and unlock a lifetime of great sleep. Start now at sleepdoctor.com/TV.
To be your best requires commitment, dedication, and intensity. It's what defines elite athletes and inspires Airwave to find new ways to optimize your performance. Introducing Airwave Recovery, a mouthpiece designed to work while you sleep to further unlock your potential. Airwave Recovery features our patented reflex technology, small, integrated bumps uniquely positioned to activate your tongue's natural response. Your tongue will instinctively move forward, opening your airway and improving your quality of sleep. And thanks to our patented fitting material and a purpose-designed support wall, you'll enjoy a secure, comfortable fit all night long. With Airwave Recovery, you sleep better and recharge faster. Airwave Recovery, recharge your potential.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Catalina and Royden Ogletree. Hold on.
Whoa.
Where am I here?
Just keep
It
going.
just says it feels weird. I'm not in the. There. Is this better? Yeah. I feel like, but I don't know. We made it a.
Just keep going sideways until you're off the.
It's weird because I'm over. It's not the normal spot that we ever. Yeah. All right. Good deal. So, Royden, Mac Rhodes is now the mouthpiece of the college football playoff committee. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the committee thanks him for it, but no one else will.
No.
Because here's what's going to happen, and this is not Mac's fault. The committee, they do this for 6 weeks, and 5 of them are bullshit. They don't need to happen. They don't need to exist. But television says they do. So because
the rights with ESPN say that they must.
Because ESPN says we got to have something. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. And so they come out and they'll have this thing. And then it's probably easier now to say with 12 teams than with 4. But it's still going to happen where he's going to have to answer a question that the only answer to is, look, there's people in that room. We watched all these games, and we still think that this team is better than that one. That's what we think. But there are going to be things that happen, like Baylor and TCU, where you ask them, like, okay, and this was Bob Bowlesby's fault, but you're like, well, okay, who's better, Baylor or TCU? Well, TCU has a better loss. Okay, well, who did TCU lose to? Baylor. Okay, what are we talking about here? Like, oh, yes, okay, Baylor lost to West Virginia, but that loss should be nixed by the fact that the other team with one loss, their one loss is to Baylor. Like, but
math
instead,
checks out to me.
Bob Bowlesby was trying to be like, oh, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make them forget that the other teams in this thing are Ohio State, Oregon, and Florida State. Mm-hmm. Who else was the other one that year? And as like whoever the SEC team was, why Alabama? But
I think it was Alabama.
Yeah, and Alabama. Like, I'm going to make them forget that like all these other conferences exist, and then all these other brand names. And I'm going to take 2 of my smallest brands, and I'm going to try to convince them that both of them should.
I'm going to take
in.
the 2 private schools that beat up on each other.
Yeah. And I'm going to say that they both should be in over the reigning national champion, who hasn't lost a game since then.
Yeah.
And Ohio State.
Yeah.
And the committee said, that's dumb.
Yeah.
And they should be like, look, if you told us one, like, I honestly think if Bob Bowles had been like, Baylor's the champ, Baylor's in over somebody.
Yeah, I think they're like the 3 probably. Or
Yeah,
they were the 5th. They were both ranked like 5th and 6th, which is like
but they're probably in over somebody.
Yeah.
Like, they're in over somebody.
Also,
the data point and all that stuff.
The end of that season, I mean, Ohio State absolutely smacked around.
Look, Ohio State's last 2 national championships are proof that one game does not define a season.
Right.
Or 2 games don't define a season. Like, the best teams, the cream rises to the top.
Right.
And they were given the opportunity both those times, and they did. So, I hate to give them props, but
talking about this a decade later, I think Mac Rhodes, God bless him, man.
He's going out there to the Wolves.
Will it in turn probably give a better mouthpiece for the Big 12, I know he's probably supposed to be impartial, but we've seen it not be that way before anyway. So, maybe it'll help the Big 12 in that way. And then you also have, what is Linda Livingston? She's the head of like the competition committee, isn't she?
Yeah.
Of the NCAA.
Yeah.
So Baylor has these things that are, these mechanisms of places of power. They got to win. I'm not saying this automatically would get Baylor into the playoff. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that, the Big 12 has allies sort of in these positions. I think that this is a completely, like we were mentioning, thankless job, because they were getting lambasted on Twitter for that video that they put out ahead of where they were all just kind of sitting around in armchairs watching the last weekend before they made the championship weekend, before they made the picks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And people were like, this is oralist or whatever they were saying now. But they got lambasted for that. So anything that this college football playoff committee does is going to be scrutinized. And then you have to go be the face of that scrutiny every week on primetime television. Yeah. Again, go with God, brother. No thanks, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would, and I'm sure, like, eventually you get, like, everybody in the room, like, all right, well, who's going to be the next spokesman because Ward's term is up? And they're like, who wants it? Huh? Who wants it?
Did you raise your hand?
No. No, I just want another Pepsi.
Yeah.
You
think they draw straws? Like, what do you think what do you think the selection process
I don't
is?
know. Like, I would not want the job at all. At all.
Yeah, and then you're having to answer questions probably from conference commissioners too, on top of everything else. Yeah. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Every week. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, and then there's like this pressure from your conference, and like you've got to go out there. You're going to have to go out there and say, well, the committee felt that BYU's strength of schedule, and like that that's not how you feel,
right?
Like you don't feel that way.
You're watching it every day.
Yeah, you're watching it every day. It's not like and Kirby Hocutt did it. But here's the thing about Kirby Hocutt. Kirby Hocutt likes to like go out there and be like, like he's a show. Like, he likes that. And not that the Mac does, but like Mac, again, the only person I think who liked it, we had Kirby Hocutt on the show, and I asked him the question, like, why would you want that job? Why? Like, it's just, you have 5 shows where you're going to go out there and then you have to say things that you
may or may not believe are true.
Yeah. And maybe now with the 12, it's easier because you don't have to. You have
to justify less, I think.
Why Colorado over, NC State? You're like, well, Colorado has a win over North Carolina or something, whatever it is. Yeah. NC State hasn't played them yet. They'll have a common opponent if they stay, like they have those things to say, but I don't know. It's just, I wouldn't want the job.
Also on top of this is how I know I'm not built for like any positions of power or anything like that. It's just, hey, you got to go do this job on top of your other job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, you have a whole other spectrum of, I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying, I know from me, when I have more than one job, Mac Rhodes definitely built different. He's the basically CEO of a university's athletic program. But like, man, that seems like a chore. I don't know about you, but when I have to edit like 2 or more things in a day, I'm just like, oh, the day's gone to hell.
Yeah.
But now you have to also balance an athletic program and the hopes and dreams of college football fans across the nation?
Yeah.
Or at least be the face of it.
One of the hardest jobs you can have right now is an athletic director of a college team.
Ugh.
It's a hard job. You wake up in the morning with new rules every day, or the potential of something's going to change.
Yeah.
And none of this is working. And look, there's NIL hearings today on Capitol Hill. You know what they got done? Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing.
Glad to know our government efficiency is working at full force.
I mean, nothing. They had these NIL hearings. They go out and they say the same things over and over again. There's NCAA talking points.
They bring in Nick Saban.
It was Shane Beamer, actually, this time around. So Shane Beamer was there. And they've got to fix this. They've got to do this. And all that. We hear it all. But ultimately, they're not going to do anything. And Dennis Dodd just tweeted this out. This recently from a stakeholder in the NIL debate. Whoever the lobbyists are have no friggin' idea what they're doing. Schools, conferences, NCAA. They're not talking about the things that worry Congress. They're talking about the things that worry them. So you're going to go like Congress, and Congress is going to go ask stupid questions because most of them have no idea. They don't know. It's not their area of expertise.
Right.
And so they ask these questions, and then the only thing
I was a dentist in rural Alabama, so
exactly.
It's just like what?
But like, and then half the time, like these things happen, and the only thing they know to say is, what like the internet talking points are from the angriest 1%.
Right.
Like, they can go up there and be like, well, I feel this is changing the very fabric of college football, and it's tragic, and you're like, but you're mad that people are getting paid money, or are you mad that like the system isn't? It's very flawed.
Yeah.
Like,
which one is it actually?
Which like, what are you mad about? And then they can't answer that question because they spent no time thinking about this because they've got to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And they're not, because they're constantly fundraising and all that, none of these people are going to go up, and that's what they care about most. None of these people are going to go up and be like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that college athletes, the system is paid fairly and it's even across the board and we're going to have a system that makes sense. No, because people are going to be like, oh, thank you, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a college athlete. I'm a fan, but like, I mean, I'd rather like, what about Medicare? Like, that's the thing is that that's what people are going to ask, or, whatever culture war bullshit, they throw out there. Like this is a non-starter. Like, you can't go on Fox News and talk about it. You can't go on CNN and get people riled up.
Right.
So whatever side of the aisle you're on, they can have you on like, hey, we're going to have Cory Booker to talk about this, and he may know a lot about it, but he's not going to be able to go back to his constituents and be like, did you see what I did about the NIL? Did you see that? That's pretty impressive. And they're like, so? Or if you're,
Yeah, what about the price of eggs, dude?
Yeah, if you're there, like, what, like, What's getting them elected on the NCAA?
Nothing. So they'll
Nothing.
They'll kick the can down the road.
It's not an issue that they'll ever run on. It's not. So they have no skin in that game. Also,
Ted Cruz campaigned on it a little bit last year.
Well, I mean, just because he likes to talk about everything, right?
Yeah.
Like but again, what's he done? Like, what's he really going to do about it? Ultimately, it's going to come down to, you asked me and I answered. That's
right.
But I'm one of 50.
Yeah.
Or, one of 100 here, like what, okay, 43 of us feel this way, 57 of us don't right now. So we're not even going to bring it up because we know exactly how it's going to go. So until this flips or we come up with a better idea, then this is what it's going to be.
So to bring it all back, if you wake up every day and you're the athletic director of name a program,
these are all the things. And then you throw this on the fact that, like, okay, it's already hard enough to be on this committee and go through it. Then you have to be the one who has to go out and answer seemingly simple questions.
Right.
Like, it feels like it should be simpler. And then you're like, oh, dang it. I was really hoping they wouldn't ask me that question. One. And, like, thing is, I think –
all things
I actually
considered,
trust Mac over anyone else because I know him well enough to be like, you know what, that did come up in the room. And, right now we're a little split on it. So this is how it's going to be. But if I were him, and I'll tell him this the next time I see them, I would say every time, Reese, you know what I say today does not matter. This is just how we have it now. 6 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, next week, that's what will matter.
Right.
So all you people that are involved, Win games.
I don't know if Mac is on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Anyway,
He's not.
He's not?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was going to say deactivate.
Yeah. Don't get on Reddit.
Yeah.
Don't do any of that stuff. Like,
That's just my advice. I mean, from a chronically online person, just like don't,
don't do it.
Don't read the comments.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it at all. Speaking of the College Football Playoff Committee, by the way, former Baylor and Wake Forest coach Jim Grobe and former committee member on the show today. And Jim Grobe's a great guy. I love Jim Grobe, but he was part of a committee that wronged me and my people. So, I mean, I feel incumbent upon me for us to squash this beef.
Are you going to grill him about it?
I'm going to say, why'd you do this to me?
Me personally.
Or us. Oh, they like me, us. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I thought, but I said, listen, you know a lot of us, but you especially know me.
Yeah.
And you should have known that you shouldn't do this to me. Why wasn't I brought up in the room? Guys, what are we going to do to Paul? He's a good guy. He doesn't deserve this.
Right. And they all said, who's Paul?
Yeah. Think about poor Jordan Travis, his legs all up there.
Yeah.
And you just told him, listen, the only reason that we liked your team at all was because of you. Not for the fact that one of the best defenses statistically in college football in a generation. You and you alone.
Who, by the way, led the Rams to the playoffs basically this year.
You shouldn't have broken your leg, you pussy. So, I mean,
I don't think Jim would use that such language.
I don't think he would either. But no, but that's, Well, when I heard, when Jordan Travis was, sending out social media about, how bad he felt because he broke his leg, I'm like, you did, why did you do this to this kid? Why would you, and then not only that, the other 100 kids on the roster that, hey, all these things you didn't matter because it only mattered, this is the only guy that matters.
But what's really important is how it affected Paul.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Who show
Let's be
are we
honest,
on?
the only reason that they did it was to spite you in Waco, Texas.
Okay, that's a better, why, what did I do to you and the committee, to make you do this to me?
So whatever Catholic guilt that you still have holding on to right now is just
I mean, you can sell these things come from Catholicism.
Yeah.
So.
Just deep down self-hatred.
Yeah. Exactly. That's going to do it for us.
What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah. John McClain, Jim Grobe, also Amanda Kristovich. She's going to be on today. We have a lot to talk about the NIL hearings, ACC, front office sports. She does a great job. Friend of the program now. Very, she's our go-to. She's a great way of explaining all this stuff.
How many times do you have to be on to be a friend of the program?
You've been a friend of the program from the jump.
From the get-go. I'm just talking about other guests.
Yeah. Yeah, no. You're like our Alec Baldwin.
I don't know if I like that.
Well, SNL.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're not Alec Baldwin. I don't think you're going to shoot anybody. But, but you're, Can
we, come up with a better SNL host?
Can
I be Steve Martin?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Steve Martin. Yeah, you be Steve Martin.
We'll start with Steve.
I don't know. Alec's pretty good at hosting that show.
He is actually pretty good.
He's the one 17 times, so.
He's pretty good at hosting the show.
So, anyway, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you in an hour, everybody.
You spent hours selecting your patio sofa.
Choosing that grill would have taken weeks.
Probably your car needed way more time. For sure, you would have spent months mulling over that pool of yours.
Protecting your prized possessions needs no time, though.
Just visit coversandall.com. Create a custom size per your requirements. Pick a fabric